You're not able to see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll continue with the frameworks thing today. Okay. So we'll start with the page object model. I mean, many of you might be aware of what's the page object model. So just wanted to hear from you people, like what's the page object model? If anyone is aware of that.
According to me, page object model is a type of design pattern
Okay.
where we can segregate, we can create, design our classes based on the pages or modules which is there in the web application.
Right. Right. It is true. So why we need a page object model is like in our application there may be 20 or 30 pages, and we wanted to do some operation over each and every page, validate many elements over many pages repetitively. Sometimes you have to go forth and come back to the same page and validate certain things. Maybe you'll fill a form and submit, or you'll get some text and validate again something you will do. So what's the page object model design pattern they have created is like, because it makes the job simpler for us. It gives some kind of segregation. One important thing is segregation actually. And in every programming concepts, there is something called separation of concerns. Even if you go for testing or any kind of programming, there is something called separation of concerns. So what is the separation of concerns is like, there may be multiple things that may be used in our automation framework. For example, uh, we might initialize some drivers somewhere. We might want some page objects to be initialized somewhere, and all the elements are captured to be in certain classes in a certain packages. And we want some core modules, right, like doing some operations over the particular objects to be present in a certain module, and the drivers for those like feature file or even test.ng files or bomb.xml to be present in a certain module. So you want to split all these things over multiple packages so that we will know for sure where to go to see certain things. And maintenance of that is very easy actually. So that concept is called separation of concerns. And what this page object model does, it implements the separation of concerns through a concept called page object. So let's say I have a login page. Let's say I have a home page. Let's say this login page, various things I want to do with this login page, right? What I will do, let's say for simplicity's sake, I have a username, I have a password, I have a submit button and cancel button. Let's say in home page, I have a home button. Let's say I have a banner of elements. Let's say I have a footer. Every web page will have a footer, right? It will have some contact details, career section, and those things. So what happens? I will initialize all these elements, and I will have few methods in the login page itself. I will have a login method. Uh, so login method, what it will do, it will utilize all these three elements. It will find the element and it will submit the password and click on submit button. So what if I have one more test case like validate invalid logins? That is also possible. So I will submit some non-compliant username and password or a wrong username and password, and I'll validate a negative test case. So whether this error is thrown properly or not, whether some proper error message is thrown, okay, your password is not valid, or your password is exceeding some characters, so username is exceeding some characters, or it contains some illegal characters. Actually, you want to verify that also, right? Maybe there is another method to validate zero input. So what the zero input does, if we don't give any username and password in the fields and click on submit, what will happen? So these are the various methods. For simplicity's sake, let's assume these are the various methods that are there to validate our complete login page. Now, this is what separation of concern means. Now we have all these methods to validate this login page, and all the elements captured in a single class called login. Right? This can be put in a single class. Right? So now we will know for sure. So whenever there is a change in a login page elements, now we will know for sure where to go and make change. We don't have to make change in every other pages or every other class in our project. We just have to go to the single class, and it is also easy to identify by its name. So it's very easy to maintain also. Right? It gives that kind of flexibility. We're getting the point, everyone.
Yes.
So what I'll do, and let's say take a website, actually simple website, and try to do a simple thing actually. So let's say I have this form field to validate. I must submit some input in this email form input. I have to click this submit button. So that's my overall operation over this web page. Then I have to validate something. So in a regular with let's say we don't have a page object model. In a regular scenario, what we will do in this scenario, we have this class called app.java. So what we will do,
If I go for the normal procedure, then I will declare all the page elements in the same class, as well as the test method will declare in the same class itself.
okay, we write everything in a sequential manner. We just say driver.get, right? And okay, we just say driver.find element, and we just say send keys, and we will say click on submit button, driver.find element, that find the submit button, and click, and we'll validate some method. Maybe if we use some JUnit or testng kind of thing, we'll say assert that, and want to validate. This is a straightforward approach, right? So we don't want to do something like this. So what I will do, I will create one separate class for this called let's say it's a form input. Let's call this class form.java. Okay, so I have created a separate class itself for this entire web page. So now what we'll do, we'll try to create a constructor for this. So inside the constructor, we'll try to pass this WebDriver object. We'll import this. And we will also use the same in the class level as a class variable. So we'll initialize the driver inside this. This dot driver is equal to driver. So let's say I have a login, no, not login method. Let's say I have this form filling method. Okay. Let's say I have a which doesn't take any argument. So now what I have to do, I have to access these two web elements and make it, put it somewhere here so that we can implement this page object concept. So what is the first approach I can do? Let me try the straightforward approach itself. Okay, this has some name field, right? So what I will do, I'll create an object like this. Let's say I'm capturing this submit button also. Okay, we have this name attribute for this also. So I have captured this two element here. So we'll try to do something here. I'm giving some random string. So, okay. So we have created some class like this. I have used the send keys to send to this particular form input and submit to, maybe not submit. Maybe I'll just use a click to click that particular element. So what I will do in my app.java, I just have to call this class actually, right? Form.class. So we have one argument, driver as an argument for this form. So we pass this. So I have to call that method also, right? Form dot fill form. So there's one problem with this. We'll try to run this and try to find the problem. Oh, sorry, I think I didn't. Okay, I didn't get the keyword. So now there's a problem I said to you, right? So now what happens, throws a null pointer exception where in this particular form 11. So it is not able to find this because okay, let's why it's not able to find this, actually find this element. Can anyone say? Hello. So why it is not able to find the element?
This is because I mean, can I see the main class? I mean, main function.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Okay, and another class. Oh, okay. It is not declared in the function field form.
Yes, because if we declare something like this at the class level,
Yeah.
so what happens is like even before the driver is initialized, now what happens? This particular thing will be called. So now the
Yeah.
driver object is null, right? It throws a null pointer exception actually.
Right. Right.
Let's try to refactor this. I'll cut this entire thing and put it inside this method.
Yeah. Now it will work.
Now we'll try to run. So it's working, right?
Yeah.
So we have to also understand that now if we use something like this at the we know for sure we cannot put this at the class level and initialize everything. So now we have to put it in the method level. So what if another method, let's say it's filling the form, right? What if I have to put an another method to give a negative input and validate that form? Again, it's going to be a difficult task for me. I have to inside that method also I have to say driver dot find element. Now that becomes too much duplicate code for me, which I don't want. So what happens? Page update can be implemented in multiple ways, but out of the box, Selenium itself give an class called page factory to for us to do things very easier actually, and it gives a few annotations for us also to make things simpler, so that we can declare all the elements at the class level itself. So let's have this driver initialized here only. So what I will do, there is one, we'll have this web element form input, and we have this web element submit. But instead of doing something like this here, so there is an annotation called at find by. Yeah, aware of this annotation actually? Anyone?
Yes, I am using
Yeah,
this.
using this, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, inside this annotation, if you go, it will show a list of what you can use, right? So now I will find this particular element using its name. So name is the property, right? Locators it will give. So name I will take. I'll say email ID. In the same way, I'll annotate this particular thing also. So now what I can do is like I can directly use this form input to send keys and submit, but I have to do one more thing, just one more thing. Inside this constructor, so I have to call this page factory class and I have this init elements, initialized elements. I am saying I have to we have declared the element only, right? Generally, what we will do, we'll do driver dot find element. We initialize that element with certain values, right? Now we are doing this, trying to do the same using this annotation, but we have to explicitly say, hey, I'm trying to initialize this particular a page object class by doing something like this. I have to pass the driver instance. I have to pass the page object, which class I'm going to initialize this like that. So I'm going to initialize for the same class itself, right? Because we are having this page factory uh, init elements method, and what class I'm going to initialize? The same class where this is declared. So I'll use this. This represents the class itself, right? So I can do something like this. Then fine. Then now it will know I have to initialize the page factory and all. Now we can send keys and click on submit button. We'll try to run this. Same, no major changes here. We are just getting the driver URL and passing it as a constructor argument, and we are just calling the method fill form using that object. Try to run this. Okay. Now it's able to do the same thing, right? It's sending the key Selenium and clicking the button submit, right? So now it is easy for us to do certain things. For example, this is an invalid input actually. Now what happens? This is a email is not valid, right? So let's try to validate that also. Okay. Let's say I'll find this particular. Let me find here itself. Okay, we have only one label here, so things are getting simpler. So I'll take this label. What I'll do, just use the find by. Now I'll find by XPath actually. And I'll declare a web element. Now what I will do, I'll just use the if condition here. We're just trying to validate some text over the particular element and just printing in the console whether the validation is successful or not. To run this. Okay, now the validation is successful. Now what if I have another method? So let's give a proper email ID. So now if we give a email ID, now it is giving me some, I mean, some username password to use over certain things, right? So let's validate this actually. Okay, I don't know where the text went.
Yeah, me too. Suddenly it went off.
Okay. A bug in Guru 99, I think.
Yes.
So, okay, let's take this actually. So please take the screenshot for future reference. Okay. So now let's say I have one more element here. So I have this again, a different method, but with the same fields to validate different inputs. Let's say I have a, now after clicking, we are just going to wait for some seconds. I'll use thread.sleep. Let's say I wait for 5 seconds. We have to throw the exception. So I'll just copy paste this. So instead of a label here, I'll just use this success message. Okay, the success message is also different, right? We'll copy that. Actually, you can use this Guru 99 for this projects also, insurance project, agile project, banking project. I see it's not actually a real-time project. Real-time project is something which is actually used by a customer at the production servers, right? It's not a real-time project, but it's kind of a simulation of a real-time project to do certain things. If we wanted to start, it's actually a very good place to start. Let's give a different. Let's try to run this. Oh, I think we call the old method actually. Okay, let me call both the method actually. I think it will make more sense. Maybe I'll first clear this input. And let's try to execute this. Just clicking on that. Okay, some exception is thrown. Okay, click button is not enabled at that point actually. Okay, let's try to do that one by one. Comment this out. We will give a little time here. Like 1 second. Command this. Yes. But I have to run this. Okay. Okay, again, one more exception. Unable to locate element with XPath. Okay. Yeah, I think, okay. I think I gave the wrong XPath here. I gave the same text message here actually. It is what? It is actually H4 center, right? Okay, I'll copy this. That's my mistake. Uh, put it here. Give another email ID. Okay. Okay. Okay, I think there's some problem again clicking the element. Now let's see if the validation is successful. Okay, validation is successful. So now this is the problem with Selenium. See, now same form field input only, but we are getting two different scenarios for a small input and the large input actually, right? For a small input text like Selenium, that submit button got enabled instantly. Now for a large input like this email, the submit button is not getting enabled instantly. Some interpret exception is thrown, right? So that's the problem actually. We have to take care of all these cases. Now I have to wait for 3 seconds for that button to be available for me, and I have to click that. Anyway, the purpose of this particular POM is now it's clear, right? So what happens? We are able to use the same objects, same page objects, in two different methods for two different validations. So let's say our particular page objects are changing. let's say this XPath have changed or some name has changed. I don't, but let's say have some 10 methods like this to validate. I don't have to go on, I mean, change in every 10 methods, right? I just have to come here in the top. I have to just change it here. So it is giving a consolidated view of whatever page object we have for the particular thing. So you're getting the my point, right? Hello.
Yes, Karthik.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So there is one other way of doing this. We'll explore that also. Let's say it's a normal thing, right? Actually, we are maximizing the browser. We are getting the URL, creating the object for the form class, passing the driver instance. Why you are passing the driver instance? Because the form class constructor has this driver instance, and we saw this driver is called driver, right? This will assign this driver instance value to the driver declared here, and we are initializing the page factory in the constructor itself actually. So okay, there's what if I want this particular home page to be used elsewhere? Is there any simple way to do that without having a initializing a class again? So what happens is like let's remove this for time being. So okay, let's say again I have this form page object class. Let's say I'm going to form is equal to, now what I'll do, I initialize a page object here itself, page factory dot init elements. I'll pass a driver instance, and for what page I'm going to have this form page factory, this form class, right? Form dot class. So now what I can do, I'll go to this form, I'll safely comment this out, and I'll try to run this actually. I'll just say form dot fill form. Okay, we'll try to run this and see what happens. Now again, the things are same, right? It's passing this text Selenium, it's validating email is thing, and it's saying validation is successful. Now the same thing, we are doing it in a different form, right? So now in any class, in any project, I can do something like this. I can just say form is equal to page factory dot init elements. It will initialize all the page object in the particular class, and I can call its methods from wherever I want. Right? Even I can easily pass this object to another class instance or another class methods as an argument, and I can do something over there over a single object actually. A single object doing something over a single object called a singleton, right? So that is also possible. So it gives a flexibility in that aspect also, right? So now we will know for, so because we have declared explicitly this as a form dot class, so it's a type safe, right? So we'll definitely know for sure that this particular.
Yeah, Karthik, hello. Hello.
Sorry, my audio is lost or what? Hello?
Yeah.
From where it was lost? Hello?
Yes, we can hear. I mean, I can hear.
Okay, okay. I mean, from where it was lost previously?
You just lost for a second or two.
Okay.
So my question is, when you are initiating when you are writing page factory or init elements and you are using that form dot class.
Okay.
So that means that means we are specifying that we are going to use the page factory elements only for form dot class.
Yes.
And the elements which are we are going to use, that should be declared as public. So rest other elements which is not we are going to use, that can be declared as private, right?
Yeah, we can do that. I haven't declared anything explicitly here. That means we have this default scope. We saw when we saw this Java section, right? So if we don't declare anything, then it's called default scope. Default scope is limited to the package actually.
Okay.
So we haven't declared anything public or private, right? Now it's a default scope. There are 4 scopes in Java, right? Public, private, protected, and default.
Okay.
Public is accessible in everywhere. Protected is within the subclass or within the package.
It is actually within the package.
Yeah. Default is for the package itself. Default scope. Fine, Saga.
Yeah. So default is within the package. I mean,
yeah, right. Default scope.
So that means, so you have declared 2 classes here, app.java and form.java.
Yeah, right.
So these elements can be used only under app.java and form.java.
No. See, this is the package, right? Selenium demo on December.
Yeah.
So whatever class I'm going to create under this package, the elements can be accessed from those classes.
Yes.
Fine, right. So before wrapping this up, I just wanted to quickly show 2 more annotations which are there, similar to find by. We have this find bys annotation actually. I will not go over the full detail. Maybe just say the things. Maybe we'll try to do as a kind of for you to work on something for your experience. Maybe you can try this on your own. So there is this find base and there is this find all. So this find base will, I can put an entire find by inside of find base. Maybe I'll show this quick example in the browser itself. You can do something similarly like this in find base. So what happens? Let's say I'm using 2 find by inside the find base, and the return type of this annotation is always a list of web elements instead of a web element. So if you use find by, so you should always make sure that the particular web element declared you should be not a web element type, it should be list of web elements. So now it will return a list actually. So now what this find base will do, it will try to match the element with all the criteria as an AND condition. So the element which you're trying to find on the web page should match this condition also and should match this condition also. Right.
I have never used it, so
okay, just try this. It's very rarely useful, but sometimes it's a kind of useful actually. Okay. Just try this.
Probably we can use this for validations also.
Use this for what?
Validations. I mean, for a particular node or particular element, we can this for validations.
Yeah, we can use. Yeah. And there is this find all, which is an OR condition actually. So you're finding the list of element which may either matches to this condition or matches to this condition. This is an AND condition, this is an OR condition actually. Fine, right?
I can use it. Suppose I am thinking of I can use one area. Suppose there is a menu and there are three submenus. All these three submenus has their headings, different headings.
Right,
So
right, right, right.
if I want to validate that, if I click on the menu, all three submenus getting enabled. So we can use this condition here, find bys, like that.
Yeah, you can use that. Sometimes actually very useful.
Yeah.
So we can initialize page factory using this find base and find all also. So list of web elements actually. Sometimes it's very useful actually. Just wanted to let you know. This is also there. So okay. So I mean this is basically it about page factory. Just have capturing every elements in the page itself, and we are initializing it, and we are using those elements inside the methods there. And we can initialize the page factory directly by this also. We don't have to create a constructor for this. Just to go over this inner call. So this page factory, I mean this inner elements, so what it is actually doing, right? It's very useful actually. It's using something called Java reflections to create a object for the form class. It's actually very nice to see this inner implementation, what it is actually doing.
Karthik, what is this T all about?
T we saw in this generics session,
Generics,
right? T
okay.
is a type actually. So now whatever type we pass, that type of object will be created. For example, see, we are passing form.class, right? Now there are two objects for this particular unit elements, driver and form.class. Now we'll go inside this. Now we know WebDriver is a straightforward argument creation, okay. But this form.class is of what type we do. This is can be of any type. Right? I just can have one more thing called one more page for login page. Let's say login is called page factory dot init elements driver comma login dot class. So this argument can be anything, right? It can be a form dot class, it can be login dot class, it can be a home dot class. Now what this T will do is a generic type, right? So now this T just validates if it's a class. Actually, it's not an any object or any method name. It's just a class name. So if you see this object, it's actually a class to proxy, right? So when we are proxying, proxy is what? We are someone's representing on behalf of me. So this particular page class to proxy object is representing that form class that is we are just passed as an argument. Now we just, if you go to this instantiate page, again, this is passed as an argument. Now we are getting the constructor of the particular class itself, right? So this is called reflection actually. Reflection is something which you get the property of any object at the runtime. Now we are getting the constructor itself. See, if you go to this, what is this package java.rang.reflect, right? So this is a reflection package. So now what happens? This constructor of this particular form class is actually called. Okay, how it is called? It is actually called with an single argument WebDriver actually. So now we are returning the new object itself. Return constructor dot new instance of driver. Now what if this particular line is executed? What will happen? It is similar to doing something like this. It is similar to doing something like equal new form, right? With the driver passed actually. So let's say form one. So both are similar, right? This one is similar to doing something like creating a new instance and passing the driver. So, but we are doing it in the runtime, so only it's called Java reflections actually. Reflections is very useful and interesting topic. You can get a runtime property of a constructor. You can initialize the object for the class, and you can call the methods. You can know what are the methods, what are the argument for the methods. Now we have this particular thing called keyword-driven framework. Right? So what happens? We are calling the method names, but the method names can be available in any class across our project. But what this keyword-driven framework will do, it will use this reflection only to create an object, something like this, and it will search if the particular method is available in any class, right, using reflections. And if the method is present, it will initialize the. It will call the method by doing something like this, create a new instance, and the new instance dot click. I mean click any method, call that any method. So maybe if I'm going too much deep, without doing that, you will not be able to understand. But the keyword-driven framework case actually relies on this reflection implementation only. That's a point which I wanted to highlight. Actually, it gets the property of the class in the runtime, find whether the method is present in that particular class or not. If it is present, it will execute the method at the runtime. Actually, you asked about this T, right, Sagar? It's very broad term. Actually, you just what is it? You just read about reflections. It's kind of very useful and very interesting topic to read also. Java reflections and Java generics actually. Maybe you'll try to cover reflections also in any class. Fine.
So probably this is may not be required for writing test codes, because test codes doesn't have.
No, for I said it, keyword driven framework is actually implemented using reflections actually.
Right.
So it is always better to know what's the reflection, how it is done. We will try to do this in our sessions also. But just know that it is also important to know what's the reflection actually.
Okay.
Actually, this website has a very good coverage of what's the reflection. Probably. This website is kind of a Bible for anyone who wants to use Java. He's a very good. He's kind of very good actually with respect to Java, and he has created various blogs. One of the blogs is reflections actually. Yeah. And maybe I'll post this link. It's actually very useful. Maybe you can refer his entire website as well.
Let me copy it, otherwise it will get lost. I'm sharing it to everyone in this group, in a WhatsApp group.
Yeah. Yes. Not only this topic, just refer to his entire website. Is very good actually. If you want to be a kind of expert in Java. So you will become an expert. Even you can go to some test architect level if you are thorough with the single website actually.
Right.
Okay. I think we can wrap up the session now. We'll continue with this frameworks things from Monday. So anything we need to discuss here?
Can we have a session tomorrow? Possible. If you manage time, otherwise
No, we can have salary. Definitely. Okay, you just ping me. Maybe before 1 or 2, we'll try to have it by 3.
Sure. It's just it's about your. It's completely fine with your availability. No problem. So I will ping you. If you are available, then it's okay.
Fine. Fine.
We have session.
I think we can start the session.